Okay, there we go. So, welcome to March 18th of our First Timers program. And tonight we are going to be talking about the run and the run course and run training. And so, we do have two guest speakers tonight that we will be bringing you. But I'd like to start out to begin with a just a brief summary of what you have that's going to be coming up, as well as what we have that we've been over. So far we've had the Welcome to Wildflower. We've had the training basics for first timers. Now remember, this first timers program has been not only for first time triathletes, but for first timers to Wildflower, because Wildflower can be a little mysterious when it comes to racing and coming to the event. And so we want to take all of that sort of intimidation away. So for those of you guys who haven't been here and haven't been a part of it, we just want to make sure that we can answer all of those questions. So this is meant to be a community to be able to have questions answered every single week. So we have talked about gear, we've talked about setup, and how you do not have to have the best, the greatest, the latest technology and all that kind of stuff. There is the basic gear that you guys can have to get by with doing what you're doing. And so we went over all of the gear that you need, what our suggestions are, and we did have a bike shop owner that went over things with you on that. And then how to not get overwhelmed with all of the gear choices in the sport of triathlon. We went over mindset, confidence building, and then we started to get into preparing for phase two, which is the skill training. All of those sessions are available on our YouTube, and we have sent out the link on that. In addition, we went over the bike course preview with Ian Murray, and he talked about every aspect of the bike course. In addition, he gave you a little bonus segment in that he does not believe in just going over the bike course. He went over all of the run course as well. So we are going to talk about the run course tonight in addition. So with that, I know that Dave has limited time tonight because he is on the track and he is getting ready to do a track coaching training right now. And so I want to turn it right over to Dave, and he can give you a little background on himself, and his USA triathlon as well as USA track and field background. He has raced Wildflower. He's been at Wildflower before, and I would like to welcome you to our First Timers program, Dave, and thank you for being with us tonight.
Colleen, thanks so much for having me. I love doing these things. I love talking to athletes. I am a USAT level two coach, a USA track and field level three coach. I'm the head coach of the LA Marathon's training programs, so I know a little bit about running. I also co-wrote the Complete Idiot's Guide to Marathon Training about over a dozen years ago. At any rate, I apologize to all of you. I am sitting in my car outside Santa Monica High School, which is the weirdest place I have ever done one of these Zoom chats because I do them like weekly for our LA Roadrunners, the marathon training. But regardless, there are a couple things about normally I would pull up a chart of the elevation and a map of the course, which I've kind of memorized, but somehow I couldn't make it all happen. I'm working off my cell phone, so please forgive my lack of resources here for tonight. But let's dive into it. There are a couple major things that you all need to know about this race. For one thing, I was listening to some of the great talk from the LA Tri Club and from the LA Tri Club and Ian Murray and all those people, and they were saying that it's going to be about 80 degrees. This is a key factor, 80 degrees. I want you to understand, here's a very simple algorithm, which is not exact, but it's something that you can all at least understand. Now, if you take any temperature above 55, 60 degrees, every degree above that is going to slow you down about 1 minute on a marathon, right? So half marathon, maybe half a marathon, a minute, right? So if you're going up to 80 degrees, you're talking about at least 10 minutes of loss, unless you do a couple of important things during this race. And it has to do not just with heat, but also with hills. And we'll go into hills in just a minute because they're really critical on this race. Um, so if it's going up to 80 degrees, you're going to be sweating more. Sweat is going to be causing more hydration issues. You're going to need more liquid. You're going to need more sodium because you're going to be sweating out the sodium. And you're going to need more carbohydrate because you're going to be utilizing more glycogen. So here's a piece of science. You have two major resources for fuel. One is carbs, which is a limited reservoir. You only have so much. When you get too low, you don't ever run out of carbs. When you get too low, your subconscious governor kicks in and you hit what's called, you bonk, you crash, you burn, you hit the wall. That's the term. So if your heart rate is higher, and your heart is pumping harder to get blood similar to a car engine, to get that water through the engine to get the heat and then get it to the radiator where you cool the water off and then send it back to your engine. That's what your heart does, just like a water pump in a car. Except the wonderful thing about your heart, unlike the water pump in a car, is your heart rate can go faster and faster to get more liquid, in this case, blood, to your radiator. And your radiator is basically the epidermal layer of your skin where your pores are, because we sweat all over our bodies, unlike all our animal friends who only sweat through their paws. We sweat all over. So if your heart rate is higher, and as your heart rate goes up, you use more glycogen, meaning carbs, and you use less fat, which is an abundant reservoir. Just by the actual fact that it is warmer out, you're going to be using more carbs in the form of glycogen, right? Glycogen is basically sugar. It's a honey-like substance that just resides right in the muscle. Got it? So you're going to need more carbs. You're going to need more salt, sodium. You're going to need more hydration, any kind of liquid, just because it's warmer out. That's for openers. Now, again, if you raise your heart rate, which you do on a hill, this is how hills come into play here. If you raise your heart rate, you're going to be using more glycogen. You're going to be sweating more. You're going to be using more sodium. So any race you do, and I'm going to go over the course very, very briefly because I know Ian kind of did it already, but any race you do where hills are involved, um, that's going to cause you to utilize more of these resources to begin with, and you're already using more just because it's a warm day. So here's where it happens. I wish I could show this map so you can get the visual, but around mile 3, 2.5, 3, somewhere around there, you're running by the lake. The lake is to your side. This is the run only. You've already finished the swim. You've already done the bike. You're off the bike. You're on the run. Okay. So you're running by the lake with the lake to your left. You kind of veer off to the right, and now you're going up a pretty big hill. Right there, that hill from, I'm guessing about, I don't have it in front of me, I apologize, from about mile 2 to 3.25 or something like that, you're going up about 100-foot vertical. Keep in mind, throughout the entire race, you're going up about 1,000-foot vertical for the whole race. I mean, every time you go up, if you add it all up, 1,000-foot vertical in a half marathon, 13.1 miles, that's a pretty good climb. I love this race. No one is going to say that Wildflower is easy for wimps. It is a great race course. It is a challenging race course. I love this course. It is a lot of fun. But it is also challenging. And if you understand the mechanics and the science of it, you'll do way, way better. So this is the area where people make the biggest mistake in their run. Okay, there are places going up the bike and elsewhere that you already screw up. But if you slow it down and listen to your breathing is indicative of your heart rate. Your heart rate is indicative of how much glycogen you're consuming from this limited resource, meaning carbs, glycogen. Okay, so if you listen to your breathing rate, and you slow it down in that area going up the dirt hill, about 120, 130-foot vertical climb in about a mile and a quarter or something like that, you'll save the glycogen. If not, it's really early in your race. You have a ton of energy. You're all ready to go. You will climb and fly up that hill with a lot of energy. The problem is you're depleting that resource, and you won't feel it until later when your subconscious brain kicks in and said, we're running low on glycogen. You're hitting the wall and you're doing it now. Boom, you're walking. So you don't want to deplete your glycogen levels on that hill so early in the half marathon. Hopefully that makes sense to all of you guys. That's a really key area of the run for glycogen depletion. Okay. Now, the other problem is, so you're running up this thing and it may take you a couple minutes to get to the top. And then you're running down, you got a nice big downhill, and your heart rate is already way up there because you're having fun zooming up this hill and you got tons of energy. And now you're zooming down the hill and you're not allowing your heart rate to go down a little. You're still consuming a ton of glycogen. You're still sweating like crazy. You're still losing sodium and hydration and all of that. You're depleting resources still on the downhill, even though it feels kind of easy running down the hill. Um, so if you're a 10-minute mile pace person or whatever, and it takes you, say, 15 minutes, 12 minutes to get to the top of that hill, and then another 10 minutes to get down the hill, you've just gone about 20 minutes. The average person, a little bit higher, we'll call it lactate threshold, a little higher than half marathon race pace, only has about 80 to 90 minutes worth of glycogen. So if you do that, you've just thrown away almost a quarter of all your glycogen, a quarter of all your glycogen in the first 2, 3, 4 miles of your half marathon. Got the picture? That's why people hit the wall. There's no reason to hit the wall as long as you're taking in enough carbs and keeping your heart rate low enough. I know, I'm going to say that again. Even on a marathon, I preach this stuff. You don't need to hit the wall as long as you're taking in enough carbohydrate and you're not going at too high a heart rate. Okay? So the other question is how much carbohydrate can we and do we want to take in? The answer to that question is pretty much as much carbohydrate as you can possibly stomach. Now, I want to remind you, when you were a kid and you were have Halloween and you went out trick-or-treating and you ate a ton of Snicker bars and Milky Way bars and all my favorites after Halloween, and you just felt like blech, right? Some of you have probably felt that during a race because you took in too many carbs. The average person, I got this from Ironman University, I don't know. At any rate, the average person, the average size person, can take in about 65, 66 grams of carbohydrate per hour, which is a really good thing. Now, load that idea with the understanding that there are a couple there are a couple ultra marathoners. I apologize. I've been coaching marathon lately and not triathlon. I miss coaching triathlon. But there are a couple ultra 100-mile marathoners that actually won the race because they trained their body to be able to consume like 90 to 120 grams of carbohydrate per hour. Now, I understand a box of Oreo cookies, a half a box is about 130 grams of carbohydrate for a box of Oreo cookies. How many people could consume a half a box of Oreo cookies every hour for 100 miles? You'd all probably be throwing up and sick all over the place. So you can only take in so many carbs. But the combination, I mean, you could train your body by eating like truckloads of gels during training. I'm not recommending that, by the way. That's what these people did, pro athletes. If you're going to be a pro athlete, kind of a okay idea. But for the rest of us, I'm not going to recommend that. Listen your breathing, listen your heart rate, take in as close to like 40 to 60 grams of carbohydrate per hour. Hydration wise, it's a warm day. The four ounces of liquid could be. I gather they're going to have base nutrition, base. It's that powder that becomes a liquid and it's filled with carbohydrate and it's good stuff. If I'm not mistaken, a guy named Matt Miller, who used to be part of the LA Tri Club, um, invented that, and then I think he moved up like near you guys, like San Jose or something like that. That's where base nutrition is. At any rate, who cares? Great guy, if I remember. Decades ago was he in LA, but good product. I have a bag at home. That will give you some carbs. That will give you some sodium, potassium, other electrolytes you need for neurological function. Understand sodium is needed not just for neurological function. You can get cramping because you're low on minerals, sodium, potassium being the big two. But you can also, if you don't have enough sodium, you're not going to be able to absorb the hydration that you need. So you can be there on a hot day. You're taking in every water table. You're carrying water. You're drinking water. If you don't have enough sodium, it's going to sit in your stomach and make you feel nauseous because your body wants to get rid of that water sitting in your stomach that you're too low on sodium and you can't absorb it. It's called hyponatremia. It's not a disease, it's just a condition. The answer to hyponatremia is very simple. Just take in more sodium. So on a hot day like this one, you may want to take mineral pills with you. The least sweating person needs about 300 to 600 milligrams of sodium per hour. So that's a lot. Um, Goo, for an example, I think you get like 35 or something milligrams of sodium. So if you take one goo gel, that's only like 22, 23 grams of carbs and like 35 milligrams of sodium. Somebody look that up on a package and tell me if I'm right or I'm close. I know I'm close. So you may need on a hot day to take in, along with the gels, along with the gummies, along with the blocks, along with the base nutrition that you get, the hydration stations and the water and all that. You may consider, do the math on your own, you may consider taking in some mineral pills as well. Now, I will take all questions. I got to go in about 10 minutes, but I'm leading a running form clinic tonight, 2 weeks after the LA Marathon. We don't want them to run track that much, but at any rate, um, one other thing I want to talk about is the question of terrain. Is 60% of the terrain you're going to be on is dirt, 40% of the terrain you're going to be on is asphalt, is concrete. Well, asphalt, right? Um, 40, 60. So it's almost half and half. The question arises, do you want to wear trail shoes? The answer is, well, one, we already talked about, you don't want to go up or down that hill breathing really, really hard. You want to kind of hold yourself back. So the way to vault up a hill more efficiently, just in terms of running form, is short, quick steps. The way to run down a hill is also short, quick steps. So instead of, your normal running form, tap, 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 double time it, and it comes something like this, and you're running down the hill. You're not pushing off, keep in mind a hill, you're falling farther with every step. So if your running form stays the same, you're kind of vaulting down like 2 stairs instead of going down 1 step in your house. So it's way more pounding. It's way more traction that you're going to need to keep from slipping. So if you're like running down the hill like a crazed maniac, yes, you need trail shoes. But if you're doing it the right way with short, quick form where you touch the ground more often to stabilize that fall, which is what you want to do, you can get down that hill really, really quickly without the feeling of you're almost going to fall forward on your face, without the fear of slipping. And then you really don't need trail shoes. And then that 40% of the route where you're on concrete, asphalt, um, they're just small 2-lane roads, but um, then you're going to be able to run that area more comfortably on the asphalt. You don't need those lugs underneath your trail shoes. So I recommend go for the thing that's most comfortable with that understanding that you really do need to change your running form. Short, quick stride, like almost double time it. Just pick it up and put them down. And don't push back, because when you push back, you're going forward out into the air farther and you're falling farther. Does that hopefully that makes kind of a bit of sense. Um, with that, there's only one other area of the route that I'm going to talk about without having the map and all that. That's something we call the pit. And now you're talking about something that's later in the race where you're going to find a bunch of people walking back up that hill. It's about, if I recall correctly, it was about a mile asphalt, a mile downhill. You do a U-turn, and then it's a mile uphill again. It's the uphill at, I want to say it was like a mile 11, 12, something like that. So that's already, you're depleted in glycogen, hopefully not too much that you're going to hit the wall. And that's where the big test comes in, where did I screw it up by raising my heart rate, my breathing rate too high, too early? Where did I go too hard, too early? Is going back up that out of the pit, right? It's really cool. I thought you run by all these people running down and running back up, and you see all these people in the next lane of the street, you go down and up. And I love that. But it's like, I want to say it's another 100-foot vertical climb there, something like that, over a mile. It's definitely a real serious, noticeable hill. So that becomes your test. Did I go out too hard too early or not? And save it up a little for that, because you need to know that one's coming. The pit is in your future. Okay. Now you can either speed up, there, and you got glycogen to use it, or you can burn out, hit the wall, and be walking like a lot of other people going back up the hill. So with that, I have a couple seconds to answer any question that any of you may have. Otherwise, I am so sorry. I love to stay on. I stay on for hours on these things. I do a call once a week with my LA Marathon athletes, but and I'm on like 2.5 hours at times. But I do have to run to the track. Does anyone have a quick question about any of that? It's all hogwash. Forget it. Just run as
I
hard as you
guess my quick question, just
can.
I'm only doing the Olympic, so 10, not the only, but 10K. So this scares me hearing you talk about the long. Do you just recommend the same thing for 10K? Just go out slowly and conserve? I mean, basically same thing.
Well, keep in mind, you got that 80, 90-minute window. So I assume your 10K is not going to be 80 or 90 minutes. So you're going to have enough glycogen. You can even take in a couple gels along the way just to top up your glycogen levels. So if you're under that 80, 90-minute window, hell, go for it.
Okay.
Raise your head. Don't go crazy. I mean, don't be gasping for air because you're running so hard. But yeah, you can raise your heart rate. You can go faster than half marathon race pace. Um, let's call it 10K pace, threshold pace. If you were to do a run for 20 minutes hard out, that's kind of what it would feel like, a threshold run for that
Okay.
10K. There you go. Keep in mind, pro athletes who do marathons, the guys, who win the marathon. I was going to say from Kenya, except a guy from the United States won LA this year, which is just outrageous, the whole finish, if you saw that. But um, they can go usually about 2 hours, where we have like 80, 90 minutes. Pros can go like 2 hours, a little higher than marathon race pace. So if they keep it a little slower, like the first 2 miles, they're running like sub 5 minute pace. I know, sub 5 minute pace. Um, they can finish out the rest of their marathon at like it's a 10K with their heart rate a little higher than half marathon race pace at threshold, above threshold, because they have that huge volume of glycogen that they absorb internally that resides in all their muscles. I hope I answered that. Anybody else? Any other questions before I should kind of bolt? Are there, I can't see text or messages, written typed messages, if any of you are doing that. If there are any, Colleen, if you have any written questions.
No, I've been answering the text ones, so you don't have to worry about those. I
Oh,
do have the
cool.
maps up. So I did have the long course when you were going over that. I did have the long course map up along with the elevations.
Oh, excellent.
Right now we have the Olympic course map up with the elevations.
Excellent.
And then when you're done, we do have some ambassadors on the call. We will be reviewing the maps and the elevations for the long, the Olympic, and the sprint. And they'll be giving their tips for each of the courses. So the
I
main
love
thing
that.
that the questions that we always get is how to tackle these various terrains, what type of trail shoes to wear. That's, most of the common ones that we get is the trail shoes, the terrains, the hills, the nutrition along, when to be taking the nutrition, how to take the nutrition along the course of those, how to handle the pit. That's always the pit's always one of them when you're doing the long course. And then on the Olympic, because you're doing a combination of fire break trails, paved roads, and then some of single track, just how you use your various levels of output with the various levels, the various terrain.
Mm, got it. I think for shoes, comfort is really the key. And also altering your form, your running form on those hills. I think that's really the key. I did not wear trail shoes. I wouldn't go with a pair of shoes that are really old and worn and flat. You want a little tread, but I didn't wear trail shoes. I don't really see the need for that if you're going to take those short, quick strides, which benefit you going down that. You're not going to wear out your quads going down a hill, short, quick strides like you might pounding, bolting down the hill.
Yeah.
Um,
And then the other question that we have got before is the run, you're really tired and you have that run down Lynch Hill down into the finish chute. So what sort of tips do you have running down Lynch Hill towards the finish chute?
again, don't pound your way down that hill. I actually, this is the most insane thing I may have ever done in my life. I remember for some reason, I remember it was pitch black. There were no lights at nighttime. And I rode my bike down that hill as hard as I could, knowing I could have been killed. I don't know what the heck I was thinking of, but I know that hill. I followed the little yellow thing on the side. But at any rate, I obviously didn't crash. But um, here's an idea of being exhausted at the end of your race that might help. I mean, obviously, running form helps you get down that hill the same way it would. I've already described. Um, come up with an emotion and keep it in your back pocket. I know that sounds strange, but think of something that really gets you rage or hysterically laughing or crying tears, sobbing. Have that story in your back pocket. And when you're exhausted, oh my God, there's a bear behind me. Holy, I got to run like hell. Anything you can do, or damn it, it doesn't have to be real, obviously. It can be totally fictional. Oh my God, that's that boyfriend. He's trying to pass me. He's right next to me. I'm going to kick his ass to the finish line and use that emotion to get you to spike your adrenaline levels. You'll also spike your dopamine levels, which will make you more aware of everything around you. And the adrenaline that comes with it will give you more energy that does the same thing as coffee. Um, Caffeine will spike your adrenaline levels, faking your subconscious brain into thinking you actually have more energy or more resources for fuel than you really do. So have that emotion, that story in your back pocket. And when you need it, go for that. The other thing you can do is if you're way out there, I've done this, count your steps. Like every fourth step, every other step, it becomes a mantra. I was once running down the street leading a group of people, and I heard we were like mile 18 or something, and I heard somebody say, "Oh, my hip hurts. Oh, my knee." Somebody else, "My knee hurts. My hip started hurting. My knee started hurting." Somebody else, "Oh, my back is hurt. My back started hurting." So I said, wait a minute. All you guys, count your steps. Just to yourself, not out loud. Count your steps. So we all started counting our steps. And when you count your steps, like one, two, three, right? Whatever it is, up to 1 to 10, 1 to 100 really is meaningless. What it is it floods your brain with this rhythm counting. So it maintains the rhythm of your running, right? And it takes the mind off of everything else except this stupid counting that you're doing every time your foot touches the ground. So it is a mantra. I actually asked a yogi about this many, many years ago, my theory. And that's a great tip. If you're stuck out there and like, oh my God, I'm hitting the wall, count your steps. And it really helps. 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, I know that I will count to 100, I'll be another mile. And that's all you do. It helps. There's a little tip. Anything else?
That is a perfect way to end tonight with that little
Okay.
secret tip.
And I
You
have
didn't
people
even know.
waiting.
You hadn't expected to share that. So thank you.
No, I had no idea. Anyway, I am in my little car about to walk over to the track. I thank you all for having me on. I know you have some amazing ambassadors, triathletes and all that. I'm sure give you a lot more than what I just did. Have fun, everybody. That's rule number one. You need to have fun. Rule number two is if you're not having fun, you need to find a way to do it. I leave you with that idea. I'll see you all at some finish line somewhere, sometime. Hopefully, you're smiling or laughing or tears or whatever. Have fun.
Okay. Thank you, David, for tonight. Bye. Okay, that's perfect. So, what we have for tonight, I know I had up on the screen, he didn't realize it because he was just on his phone, but I had the long course up because that's what he was talking about. And I do want to quickly go back to the long course only because he was talking about in general in the beginning. He was talking about that mile 3 section. And I know there's some long course people on here, but then I really want to get into the Olympic course because he went over the long course kind of in detail. We didn't do a lot on the Olympic, but there's a couple key things on the long course that I think we need to point out here. And Ian went over this as well in his talk. It's kind of that mile 3 area that he was talking about. So when you come to the event venue, it's known as the Harris Creek area. So when you come to the Harris Creek area, it's kind of that mile 3, 4 area. You can see when you get in here that first big hill that you get to, it's right around this area here. So you go up, if it's 2.8, and you can see your inclines happening right here at 3. You get to the top of the hill 3, and then it goes right back down into a little valley here, and then it jumps up at 4, and then it's kind of all these little rolling hills that are coming in here, and then you have this massive incline, and you kind of get back in that long valley area. And so you just we are known for our hills on the bike. And I think a lot of times people get off of the bike and they don't realize the hills that are still ahead of them on the run. And so make sure when you guys are out there training that you're training for both the hills on the bike and the hills on the run. And so I'm going to, I know we have several of our ambassadors on here that have done the long course run. So I'm gonna zoom out really quick here because it does show this entire long course run. So on the run itself, you come out of the transition area, you go all along the water here, and you come through all along the water, you come through, you head down towards Harris Creek, through Harris Creek, and then you come into what's called the Long Valley area. And you go through Long Valley all the way through the back side of Long Valley out towards kind of where you come into the main gate. When you come in the main gate, you're along the side of the road here, and then you come in through the main, you're alongside it where you come in the main gate, and you're coming through, and then you kind of head back towards the campgrounds where you get a bunch of energy from all of the people that are there that are cheering you on as you come back through the campgrounds. And this whole area here is all people cheering you on through the various campgrounds area. And so you're coming through the campgrounds into the overflow area. Now, the overflow area gets a little empty again as you're there because it is just that. It's just overflow where we don't have a lot of campers out there, but it's overflow area where you come on. Now, your some of the mountain bike people, they actually make a left right here, but the long course run as well as the trail run both make a right-hand turn right here, and they go down to what's called the pit. Now, I will tell you one of the sad parts of this pit is the long course people go all the way down to the pit. The trail run people go almost all the way down to the pit. So they have a little turnaround place, almost like they have a little cheater section where they get to turn around before you. So you so if you're doing the trail run, you kind of get this cheat section that you turn around, and your long course people get to go, wait a minute, why do they get to turn around early? And so you turn around, you go to the pit, and the sad part is you actually go down a little hill and have to come back up it if you're on the long course run. And so you come back and you go towards you're on the main Lake San Antonio road all the way to where you get to the top of Lynch Hill. Again, ton of energy at the top of Lynch Hill. You come back through there, everybody's cheering you on. And then you get to the top of Lynch Hill where you have that huge downhill that David and I were talking about, where you're heading in that downhill all the way down, where you get to the bottom. And we are known for our very long finish chute. And so you have people cheering you on all the way through that long finish chute. So from there, what I'd like to do is open it up. I see several of my ambassadors that are long course athletes. I see Jen, I see Sam, I see Durat, I see several of you. So any sort of tips that you guys would have for first time long course athletes that you would have for doing this race that hasn't already kind of been covered by David, that would be different, that you guys would say that needs to be considered on this?
Yeah, I'll offer just a quick one too on that. So, hi everyone, my name's Dorette. I look forward to speaking with you in a couple weeks and also collaborating with the other ambassadors. Um, I think one of the key points that Coach David was talking about was really pacing yourself, and in order to um, conserve muscle glycogen. But that's also going to start when you're on the bike. And I'm not going to go back and talk about the bike, but if we pace ourselves when you're out there on the bike, you're going to have more energy, and probably feel a lot more optimistic going into the run. And that first part of the run just feels really great, hitting transition, and then it just really hits you once you leave the transition, you leave the crowds, and then you start settling into your pace. And it's like realizing, okay, now we're hitting that half marathon. That's what I'll say about that, but I'll hand it over to the other ambassadors, see what they have to offer too.
Yeah. So I'm Reed, another ambassador, and he's talking about nutrition. Something I've learned is you really need to train yourself to take on that amount of carbohydrate and liquid while exercising. I met with a sports nutritionist last year who basically said, a problem that I have is a lot of my runs I train on, I'm fasted. I'll wake up, figure I don't need to eat, and go for a run up to an hour, and maybe have some water beforehand. And then when you're racing and you have to take in all those carbs, it just doesn't sit well. So I've been basically since last fall, I've been training. She said just eat a banana before you go for a run, and then take some gels with you. And really, even if you're doing a shorter effort, eat gels at the rate you would during one of these events. Also getting used to it when it is warmer. Like I'm in the Sacramento area, it hit 90 today. Went for a run in the afternoon. It was not fun, but it was good for me, to start practicing that, because sticky gels and things go down differently when it's hot. But you've got about a month and a half to figure this out. But I recommend start training your gut right now. And yeah, and it does. I used to think, you don't need to do this on the course for training. It's just branding. No, it does matter. I've learned it. So get your hands on what's available on the course and use that when you train. Also, I will note, so with the hills, the good news is there's never anything like extremely steep. They're gradual hills, and it is a mental grind, but you're not like running up the face of a mountain ever. And you just kind of get in a rhythm, and there's gonna be people around you doing it too. And with every race, right, you have this kind of we're kind of this weird community where we do crazy things, but we're all in together. And just kind of let that. You're never like looking at a wall, which is nice. That finish line shoot for Wildflower is a really cool thing. The flags, everyone's going crazy. You can see that up ahead. You got the announcing team and all that. So it's something to look forward to. And remember, the last mile is downhill. And I've done all three distances. Well, the sprint is not downhill because you don't really go up and there's still some rollers, but Olympic and long course, you go on Lynch Hill at the end. And you can kind of just do that mental math just to convince yourself that it's shorter, even though it's not. I think last year was spot on 13.1 or something total.
Okay, we'll do one more comment on the long course, and I'd love to make sure we have enough time to hit both the Olympic and the sprint.
I have something that kind of pertains to both because they both finish on that same downhill. Oh, hi, I'm Sam. I'm one of the Wildflower Ambassadors, and I've raced both of the Olympic and the long course numerous times. And one of the things that I really like to emphasize with the athletes that I'm taking to Wildflower is working on that downhill running, because people, sort of tend to focus on, how do I get better at running uphill? They forget that downhill running is actually something that needs to be trained too. And both of those courses end on that same long and pretty steep downhill. And I'm impressed every year with the number of athletes that are coming down and sort of a leaning back, kind of pounding into their quads, pounding into their heels, putting on the brakes kind of method of trying to get down the hill versus the athletes that have practiced and gained confidence about running downhill, and they can lean into that a little bit and then really pick up some speed. And you will not only find that little extra energy from gravity, but you will also pass a lot of people on the way down as well. And that's really fun when you realize that you're not putting out really any more effort. You're just doing it all on technique. So I encourage you, if you're in an area where you have the opportunity to practice not only the uphills, but also really working on getting some confidence running downhills, it'll really pay off big time at the finish of your race, on no matter what race you're doing at Wildflower.
Perfect. Thanks, Sam. Now, you did talk about that does involve both the long and the Olympic. So I do have the Olympic course here. The Olympic course does go the same way that the long course does in the beginning. It comes out of the transition area. It does go along the shoreline towards Harris Creek. It is along the shoreline the entire time, a combination of gravel and fire break trails to Harris Creek. Then there is an uphill at Harris Creek here to San Antonio Road. It goes all along San Antonio Road. There's kind of that pit area that you have in the long course. They do go past that pit area, but you're not going through the Long Valley area over here. But it goes along San Antonio Road, and it's just a loop all the way along San Antonio Road to the top of Lynch Hill and then down Lynch Hill. And so you can see the elevations along this area down here. But it's a nice, I mean, aside from some fire break trails in this one section right here, other than that, it is mostly all paved road here. There's a little section that's kind of right along here as well, but it's paved road, and this is a gradual kind of uphill here in the beginning, but very, very attainable. Something that if you're just out there and you're practicing some hills, you should be good with. So as far as Jen, as any advice that you can give on the Olympic distance?
Oh, hi. I was ready to tackle onto the long. It's all kind of blur. I did have a question. Is the trail run starting at the same time this year as the
No, so the trail run is actually starting later on.
it
And
is?
so
Okay.
they will be on the long course about the same time as the long course athletes are. So it starts around 10:30. I have to look at the time exactly to remember. When you have 8 races, you have to remember what crazy times that you actually started everything. So it starts
Okay.
right near the main stage area. And so it starts at the main stage area in the festival area. It will come out of there, make a right-hand turn, and then head down.
Okay. Yeah.
So
I
I will
remember
hit
there
that really
being quite a
quick.
few
That's a
people.
good point.
Yeah, quite a few people on the course for like as they merged and on Saturday. So that was kind of cool. It was good to have everyone
Yeah.
out there together. Um And I mean, just to tackle onto everything, it's slightly different, but you still have that water's edge part of the 10K going along there. And I agree, the running shoes, regular running shoes, no trail shoes, practicing the downhill, soaking up the energy, not um not wasting all the energy like going uphill, but keeping, the posture right and the arms in motion as you're going through. You go through a lot of crowds, which is pretty incredible. There's a lot of energy in the well in all the different levels, but I think especially the 10K as it goes through the campground.
Perfect. Well, let me also get up here. And actually, this is a good thing, as you can see right here. This first section of the Olympic course is actually the same area that the sprint course runs on. But I'm going to go ahead and pull up so that you can see the on-road sprint map as well. Let me bring that over.
Can I offer one? I just thought of something for
Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
the 10K of the Olympic is, even though this is a 10K, it is a hilly 10K as we see it. So valuable to train into like a course that has hills if whenever possible, but don't think of it so much as a fast 10K. It's a 10K, but it will take you longer than the average 10K, but enjoy it. Take it in.
Yeah, that is a good point. That when you're racing that, it's not your tradition. A lot of 10Ks that you see out there are flat fast 10Ks, and this one is more of a hill challenge 10K, and it's going to be taking on the energy of the crowd, taking on the energy of the other athletes that are around you. A lot of times you'll find yourself talking to the athletes that you're racing with to get you through those hills. When you guys are going up together and you're racing those hills together, you'll end up talking to the person that's next to you to get you through those or to get you down those hills. So this is the sprint distance here. So you can see you don't quite have those hills. And actually, if you zoom in, because these are the nifty technology that you see here of the 3D version of all of this. So when you come out here, you can see this is the start line here. So when you guys come out of you're swimming right here, this is the transition area that's right here. You're coming out of the transition area and you're coming along the shoreline here. And you're going all along the shoreline. So you're right along the water, but this is all paved. So you can see that it's fairly well paved here. It is narrow, but it is paved this entire way. It is not flat though. This I would say if you guys are here for the weekend, I would definitely go walk this so that you understand what this area is. As you can see, as they're looking at these elevations here, this map that you're looking at is deceivingly flat, but if you look at the elevation pictures, it's not flat. So go walk this area. If you're coming on Friday, just go take a lovely walk down here and you can get through this area and you can see it. But it does go right along this shoreline this entire way. These are permanently marked. So there is mileage marker signs out here the entire time, as well as markings on the road. So you go all the way through this area. You go through what we call the Beach City area where the Cal Poly students and everything are. And so you go through here and then there's the turnaround points and you come back. Now, there's a different turnaround point for the off-road sprint and the on-road sprint. So if you're out there looking at the signage, just make sure you're looking at the correct color signage for on-road versus off-road. So that when you're looking on that, so this is one of the turnaround points for the on-road versus the off-road. So just be watching that as you guys come through. And then it comes back. And I'm going to show you guys the course maps, like where to find those on our website so that you guys can download and have those for printouts. Now, when you guys come back, when you come back on this road, you're going to come back, you're going to take the higher road back through the festival area, and you're going to come to the back side of the festival area. Now, the bands and everything are playing in this grass area right here. And so you're coming to the back side of the festival area. Our finish chute is right over here. So you're coming behind this finish chute area. You're coming along this back side here. And this is where kind of sometimes it does get a little bit confusing because when you come to this tree right here, you're like, where am I supposed to be going? So you want to come and just make sure you're watching all the signage. There's cones and everything for you here, but you're going to make a right-hand turn and you're coming along this back side here. And then you guys do get that same long finish chute experience. So you come back to the end here, and then this is the long finish chute that you guys will come down. And the finish chute ends right here. Okay, so the signage itself, the off-road will be blue, and you're like, okay, so how do I find out what color signage I'm supposed to see? And where do I find the maps? If you go on our website and you go to the course descriptions, there's each of the maps, and you'll notice on those maps when you download them, we have these printouts. It shows where each of the locations are of the fluid stations. It has the mile markers on it. It has the elevations on it. And then there's colors across the top of the maps. Those colors correspond with the arrow signage that you're going to see on the road. That is the same colors that you're going to follow the entire time. So for instance, the long course will always have yellow arrows. The off-road sprint will have blue arrows. The Olympic will have green arrows. And the on-road sprint will have blue. Oh, I'm sorry. The on-road, This map is a little deceiving. On-road has red. That's why the tech guy's sitting on the other side of the room and gives me a little whispering. Colleen, it's red. It's red. The ambassadors know that. That's Hebrew in the background. That's Hebrew in the background.
Chris for the win.
Yeah.
I was just going to say something else because it reminded me, David was talking about the weather and the heat. Last year we had, just an amazing temperature drop over the weekend. But some of the course at the beginning is pretty shady, and then you're you're thrown out, where it's not very shady, kind of like in the middle of the course. So, right when you're on that, like the pit is wide open sun, and where she was just going through the mat, that just reminded me of some pain points. But we can never really tell what it's like, but just be prepared for different environments around you also throughout the course.
That is true, and it is anticipated. I mean, if you trust the Farmer's Almanac, which, it's always been right so far, but it is supposed to be on the warmer side this year. So I would say definitely be prepared for that. And I always tell people train in the heat so that you're prepared for it. It's easier to prepare your body for heat and have perfect weather than it is to prepare for just average weather and have to deal with heat. So just understand that you need to know what you need to take in for fluids and know all of those things. We are going to, like I said, we do have a nutrition segment we're going to be talking about so that you can really learn about what you need to be taking in for fluids, what you need to be taking in for nutrition. So we have that's going to be coming up that Durette's going to be doing. But we will be announcing our nutrition sponsor next week. And so we'll be going over all of that. Within that, we will be talking about exactly what their nutritional values are in what they're serving so that you know and you can train ahead of time based on what they have and what they're going to have on course. And that way you know what to prepare for, because as you know, you're never supposed to try something on course for the first time. So, which Dorette will go over for you. So any other course stuff? So a few things that you guys should know. This will be recorded so you guys can go over this. Ian will have his recording. These course maps that I was going over right here, these are all on our website. So all you have to do is go to the website and you can download these and have them available. And then I was mentioning the trail run. So the trail run briefing as at 11:30 and the trail run start is at 11:45 currently is how it's listed on here. Now we did mention where the trail run is starting. And so while we had this map up, I wanted to kind of mention that. So I did talk about this little section right here. Well, the festival area is right here in this grass area. The main stage is underneath this tree right here. And then this is a volleyball court here. This is a playground here. We will have a whole session on the festival area, what's happening in the festival area, the schedule, everything that's happening. So make sure not to miss that. And I have a better map that we'll be going through that you'll be able to see it. But the trail run actually starts right under this tree right here in between Expo Area 1, which is the yoga area, and Expo Area 2, which is the festival area and the main stage. And so we start on this center road area in between, and then they make a right-hand turn and then an immediate left. So that's where the trail run starts, if anybody's wondering on that. And we'll go over that. The trail run, essentially, besides that starting point, is almost exactly like the long course run, other than that minor turnaround point at the long course turnaround. So, somebody mentioned, do you know what the lake temperature is? We will be posting, if you watch our social media pages, we post the lake temperatures starting April 1st. We will be posting those every weekend, what the different lake temperatures are. It averages between 65 and 68 degrees. But as we get closer, I mean, it really depends on as the temperature rises and stuff like that, depending on how warm it is leading up to the event and stuff like that. We are out there every weekend working from April 1st on. And so we'll be posting those on our Instagram and our Facebook page as we lead up to the event. We'll also be announcing them, obviously, on this First Timers group. So, and my tech guy that's whispering to me just whispered, currently it's 63. So, any other questions that you guys have for tonight? Lake level is looking great. Yes, Reed, accurate. I was just out there this last weekend. We had a work weekend and it looks fantastic.
Hey, Colleen, how big are the waves that go out? It's not every age division, is it? I mean, they clump some together, or how's that
We
work?
do clump some together. So last year, so a wave will be no bigger than 150, but last year I averaged them about 60.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I was wondering, Reed said that there's no, you're not going to be going up any walls, but I was just going over the long course inclines, and there are some parts that, are like 12, 13%. Is it just also gradually that you're going into it, that it just seems like you're going in, or, from 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, because I don't know about you, but 13% incline is pretty steep. No?
You know what, Jen, you really wanted to talk about long course, so I'm going to let you take this one.
I'll caveat what I said, like, this is all from memory. So maybe there were some very short segments like that. But yeah.
Jen,
I just never
you
was
wanna
like,
answer
oh,
that?
how am I going to get up that thing? Yeah.
Sorry,
But
what
I'll let
was
Jen.
the steepness of during the
He said that the steepness, it says that there's some pretty steep areas, but Reed said that there was no walls. So when you're describing the long course run, how would you talk about the hills?
super fun. I'm I don't think I like walked. I think like there's like a little bit where, it gets kind of single track and there were a lot of runners out there. And there's that little bit like right there. Yeah, that's where it's like along the water's edge. What mile is that?
That's mile 7. It's
Oh, so
basically
that's
mile 7 to mile 8 here.
okay. So that's not on the water's edge then.
You in kilometer 7, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's this
Oh,
section over
sorry,
here
yeah.
too.
Yeah. So I can just remember that turn where it was like, oh, okay. And where you catch your breath, you walk a little bit and you can see in front of you that it winds around and it kind of evens out into more of just an undulated kind of rocky or not rocky, undulating hills. I think the pit is like if I was to say the hardest part of the course, I mean, I think going down the pit because you're turning around and coming back up. So that can be kind of a mental ball buster, thinking about that. So just getting that in your head and knowing, okay, have little goals of, okay, when I turn around, I'm gonna where I'm gonna put that focus on. And then like we talked about earlier, I think the downhill can be really challenging because you are going for 12 miles up, up, down, and the a lot of people don't practice downhill. So I'll just stress that even more too. The quads are burning, it's a different stimulus, and when you don't feel your legs as much going down that hill, like it's important to work on that and use your arms and use your arms always to help you through the course. Did that help?
Yeah, sure. Just don't worry about it. It'll be
I
cool.
mean, it's I don't know. It's just such a stunning course, and like I said, along the water, and it's kind of like I don't know. I always like things when you're not expecting, like what's next, what's around the corner, um, and uh, and most of the time you can see, the hills ahead. Like if you look at the where Colleen's pointer is right there, those little guys. You walk, you take a little water break, and then you just get back to it.
Yeah, this section right here, it does look like it is a really steep incline. But the way that you're kind of going through the backcountry area, I don't know why it is, but you don't notice this steep of the incline that it is compared to the pavement area.
I think there was an aid station right there, if I'm not last time too. So that was super helpful. A lot of people cheering and helping you
Yes.
up the
Yeah.
hill for sure.
I will say the other thing is if it is really hot, this section that's back here does get really hot back there as well. So you can get yourself caught in the heat. So that's the section that I would watch for. Just make sure that you're taking enough water if you get caught back there. If you notice that it's going to be a hot day, really watch for your fluid intake back in those sections because that's when I think you notice the hills more is when you haven't been taking the proper fluids in those areas.
Hey, Colleen, just a terminology question I've never figured out entirely. So is Long Valley what we call all the way from when you leave Harris Creek Lakeshore all the way till you hit the road, or is it just that first bit? Like what do we call Long Valley?
We kind of call it everything until you get to the green fence. So it's basically this back section. So it's where you
Okay.
hit this corner from where you make this right-hand turn. It's this valley here until you get to the green fence where you come in the main gate. So it's this
Okay.
section.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then this is the whole water section here that's kind of the Basham Point area.
Yeah. And if I recall, there's an aid station kind of where you get near the returning part of the course, about halfway through, right? Isn't that what the aid
Yeah,
station is?
right in here.
Oh, one there, but also isn't there another one somewhere in the Long Valley section?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a chance to rehydrate if you need to pour water on yourself or something.
Yes, absolutely. And then on the Olympic, it's the same thing. It looks like there's a lot of hills and stuff here, but again, you can drive that whole section. So, on Friday, go drive it. It's everything but this section, this shoreline section between the festival area and Harris Creek. You can't drive that. You can walk that, but you can drive from Redonda Vista to Harris Creek. So you can go and drive that and see exactly what you're going to be running on Sunday if you wanted to look at that. But again, that's why you're there for the whole weekend. You can go walk those sections as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we are right at our time limit here. I want to go ahead and make sure that you guys know where to get the information as far as the First Timers program on our blog. Be watching that, and you'll be able to get the recordings from the past sessions. We'll be uploading those for the sessions that we do have. Let me pull up what our next session is here really quick. So next week, we have strength, mobility, and injury prevention. So we have Craig Alexander that will be having he has a recording that he sent over that he will be giving you guys some tips and a little bit of at-home demonstrations and some different stuff that you can be doing. In addition, we have Jen that will be giving you guys some different tips and tricks that she uses, as well as she has been recovering from one of her own injuries. So she will talk about a real life experience about what she's dealt with a running injury and how she's recovered and how she helps some of her clients both train and recover and give you guys some different training options. In addition to that, we have TriDot. We have Elizabeth James from TriDot that will be talking about some strength and mobility items for you as well. So lots of stuff. I think that that has become kind of like the fourth discipline of triathlon. We have swim, bike, run, and strength training that is really become very important to everything that we're doing. It is a skill that needs to be part of our everyday life when we are training in each part of the disciplines of the sport of triathlon. So I'm really excited about that session. I'm really glad that Elizabeth will be joining us as well as Jen. I'm excited about what Craig will bring us. So next week's session is going to be great. We will be putting up the session. You know what I'm going to do right now so that you guys, I'm going to put next week's link so you guys can save this. Here, you guys have the secret link right here. This is the Zoom link for next week. Go ahead and save this. So you have next week's link right there. We will be sending that email out. It will also be on the First Timers blog, so you can go and copy it out of there. That's the two places you can find it. The other thing is make sure that you're going in and checking your spam, your promotions folder, all the folders that the emails now filter things to. Just check either wildflowerexperience.com or First Timers Program. Try to filter out our stuff and save us your contacts so that you're getting our emails. But that's where we try to send on the day of or 24 hours prior. We try to make sure you get the recordings as well as you get the Zoom link each week. Other than that, we want to thank you for your time tonight. Thank you for everybody who joined us, all the tips that you guys were able to bring. I am incredibly thankful for all of our ambassadors who have done this event for years and who are a part of our family and know probably more about the race than even I do these days. So thank you for being our eyes and ears out there on the course. And we are excited to have each of you guys at our start line this year. So thank you very much. If you have any other questions, you can always put it into the WhatsApp chat as well as the Facebook group if either of you guys are in that. And you guys always have Deb's email address as well. So she is our coach. She is flying back from the special or from the Paralympics right now. So we are excited to have her back on next week. We're excited to have TriDot with us again next week. So thanks everybody for your time and happy Wednesday.